Honestly, similar to this team, that was the first time that they got all the rat poison. And that's kind of this group. This group hadn't really. This group ain't had the rat poison. They've just had the you suck poison. And this is the first time this group's really had to manage that. And I don't think some of them have managed it well. Obviously, just being real. And I would say the same thing about that group. Because nobody voted us high in 15, and we just kept winning. That might have been the best team I've had, honestly, was 15. That was a really good group. And they just but nobody really expected much out of them. We hadn't won the league since 11, and all of a sudden here comes 15, and that team wins the league. You go on to the national championship. We know all how that played. But now coming into the 16 season, there's a lot of rat poison, as Coach Saban likes to talk about. And these are young people. Your quarterback's he's the first pick. He's the Heisman. You got all these guys back. You got Mike Williams back. You got Artavis. You got Ray. You got Dion. You got Renfro. You got all these guys, and all these experienced guys up front. You got these guys on defense, and you're just going to press play right to Tampa, right? And that's kind of how I felt with that team. That was. I actually said that to the team. You guys feel like y'all can just, because their whole mindset was we're going to Tampa. And I'm like, you don't just hit fast forward. It doesn't work that way. This ain't a video game where you just, like on TV, on the screen, when you hit 10 seconds forward or you hit the arrow and it goes to the next thing. That ain't how this works. It's one step at a time, one play at a time. You got to play every game. You're getting everybody's best shot. You're the league champion. And so I don't think they handled that well out of the gate. And we go down to Auburn. I thought we stunk. Even though and it's the same thing. If Cade throws the touchdown to Tyler Brown and we win in overtime, I'm still pissed on Monday. Ain't nothing changed. Nothing changes. It's how you play. I've won a lot of games where we played like crap. I've lost some games where we played really good. And sometimes the team's just better. So, to me, it's how you play. It's about how you play, who you play, where you play, what time you play, any of that stuff. It's how you play the game, right? Coach Stallings used to always say, when the great scorer comes to mark against your name, he cares not whether you won or lost, but how you played the game. And so.
Welcome to Believe in Clemson Football, presented by FanDuel. I'm Will Vandervort. Alex Dodd will be here with you in just a second. He's doing some little producing work behind the scenes. I got him doing some stuff. But we appreciate you guys joining us tonight. As you can see, Coach Sweeney, that was from his press conference earlier today where he was asked about this team and, how they're playing and, the expectations of what this team was supposed to do coming into the season. And through the first 2 weeks, they haven't done very good. And he said, basically kind of playing off the rat poison comment from Coach Saban, Dabo made it a different kind of comment, the you suck poison. And he says so far the team is not handling that very well. And it was perfect of how Dabo described that just now and talked about, it's not about it's not about wins and losses. It's how you play the game. And he says right now they are not playing the game very well. And so, it's going to be an interesting week here here comes Alex Dodd as he comes into the picture here as he got us really ready to go. But
I wasn't late this time. I just want to point that out. I was not
You
late.
weren't. I let him know you were working. You were doing something behind the scenes that I asked you to do. I appreciate you doing it and getting that done for us. And it was Alex. Coach Sweeney adamant today about this team and how they're not playing well in the games. He's not sugarcoating anything these days. He was asked earlier today about, hey, what's your thoughts on the offense? How are they playing? And he said they're not playing very well at all. And so
he's got that right.
So he's like, what's the identity of the offense? Well, the identity is we ain't very good. That's the identity. But he says it's early. We could get better and all that stuff. But Alex, what do you think about the "you suck" poison comment? I think that's one of Dabo's best quotes of his career, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's got to go up there on the Mount Rushmore of Dabo Sweeney quotes. And, man, I don't think he could have described it any better than what this team looked like they were playing with in that first half. of the game on Saturday. Just looked lethargic, lack of energy, lack of motivation. Thinking you're going to roll your helmet out and win. Made me and Will look like dang fools for picking Clemson to cover the spread in this game. Obviously credit
not just us, but everybody. They made everybody look.
Yeah.
I just wrote a story about that, how everybody thought Clemson, because you got 4 starters back on the offensive line. You got a veteran quarterback back. You got probably one of the best wide receiving groups in the country. And yet, Alex, you're averaging 18.5 points per game the first 2 weeks of the season. Eesh.
Yeah, which would be fine if you played, LSU and Ohio State, but you played LSU and Troy.
Yeah, that's right.
And you expect, when you're told that you have the best of anything, to play, at least somewhat to that standard. Saturday, it didn't look like Clemson had the best anything in the country, personally.
They didn't. I mean, they looked bad. I mean, if you read the Clemson Insider, I did a halftime story, how it was embarrassing. Kate Klubnik's missing guys that are running wide open down the sideline for an easy touchdown, just not throwing the ball to him. He's got guys that are breaking open on passes for 15, 20-yard gains, not throwing the ball to him. Offensive line, they're just sitting there, letting their quarterback, freshman's trying to block just, defensive end, and, your left guard just sitting there like, oh, hey, I don't got anybody to block. I'm going to go ahead and I'm not going to help you at all. I'm just going to let you get run over and bowled over and right in front of 80,000 people. That's happening. You got Adam Randall, not being patient and waiting for his blockers to get in front of him, or he's running for 30 yards on a play. You got TJ Moore dropping passes again. The only 2 guys that came to play on the offense was Tyler Brown and Bryant Wesco. Everybody else sucked. And when you only got 2 guys out of 11 playing well, that's going to cause problems. And that first half, that's exactly what you had. And even the coaches, Dabo said with the touchdown Troy got on their first possession, he said that was on us. We didn't do what we had to do coaching wise. And what he meant by that was Jamal Anderson wasn't supposed to be on the field. It was supposed to be Tink Kelly. And he's like, they didn't get Jamal Anderson off the field. And of course, Troy took advantage of that, and you give them credit as they ran that play. And what in the world are you trying to get Jamal Anderson covering a wide receiver? That was just not going to work.
Yeah, it was just silly. I mean, really, the way that it worked. And then, of course, when things are going bad, it's going to snowball, and you have the pick 6 from the 1 off a helmet. Clemson's field position was horrible. We'll get more into the game as we get the show going, but it's not just one thing when you look that bad. It's a combination of, really every unit on the team, playing pretty bad to start that game, and some units playing awful. I mean, the "you suck" poison is a great way to put it.
It is. It's not what I expected this team to be coming off of coming in off of the Troy game. I expected us to see some improvement, and I'll be honest with you, you saw them digress a little bit.
Yep,
especially in that first half. So got some work to do. There's no doubt, and we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about the Tigers game against Troy. We're going to talk about this Georgia Tech game, which is perhaps one of the biggest games. It is the biggest game of the season at the moment. There's no doubt about that. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the ACC, what's going on in the conference. So we're going to talk about the AP poll, the top 25, what's going on there. Also, we got our pick 6 coming up later on in the show, as well as me and Alex will try to, see
right the ship.
Right some ship, I guess. How did we do last week, Alex? Did you mark it down how we did? We got our numbers. I know I won a couple of them.
We both won a couple of them. So when
we
you're
were
picking
3-3 the week before, we got to figure out what we are so we can.
And then I'll give you that while Will is reading out the sponsors. I'll do some more producing work here and give you updated standings on how we're doing to pick them.
Okay.
Basically,
by the way, Brock presented by FanDuel. By the way,
yeah, and I think personally, after looking at how we did this week and last week, FanDuel maybe should give us a little bit more money, kind of commission on setting people up for failure. We'll try to right the ship for you. I did well on my NFL picks this week, and nobody else in the world did because it was a weird week, but I did well on those.
Yeah.
But my college picks they were bad.
Well, we'll get a little bit of that too, because I want to talk about our team and what they did on Sunday. Because me and you haven't really had a chance to talk about that yet. But we won't go too far into that because I know people want to listen to Clemson football. So anyway, but before we get going, let's go ahead and give a shout out to our sponsors. And we'll start with the Clemson Insider, the most complete coverage of Clemson athletics and recruiting. Go on over to the Clemson Insider and check out all the stuff we got going on. A lot of recruiting information from Jason Priester. We got stories from Dabo Swinney's press conference today. We got, column by me, writing a column last night, about, I didn't say it, Alex, I didn't say the ghost of Bobby Dodd, but I implied it as the weird things that happen when Clemson goes to Bobby Dodd. And not just for Clemson, but weird things happen for Georgia Tech too. The last time Clemson was there, Clemson beat Georgia Tech 73-7. I think Georgia Tech fans would say that was weird for them.
Yep.
And Clemson had their backup third-string quarterback throwing touchdown passes, when he wasn't trying to. And so, it was just, you had a punter throwing touchdown passes when he had to come in as the fourth-string quarterback in that game, throwing touchdown passes, and Will Spires. So, just crazy things happened in that game. And so, we'll get into a little bit of that as well as we go along. But so go over to the ClemsonInsider.com and you can check all that stuff out. You can also go to their Twitter page at Clemson Insider. You'll find us right here, right there, right now doing this show. You also can go to the YouTube page and you're going to find us doing this show live as well. Also check out JP Live each and every Monday night. He does his show as well. Great podcast JP does each Monday with recruiting and everything and his thoughts on Clemson as well. So go check that out. So go to the Clemson Insider. We appreciate everything they do for the complete coverage of Clemson athletics and recruiting. Also, remember, you can check us out on Spotify as well as Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcast, SiriusXM. You can find the Believe in Clemson football podcast presented by FanDuel there as well. And then also we want to go ahead and talk about our sponsor with the all-new Smoke on the Water. If you haven't heard, yes, that same Smoke on the Water that used to be in downtown Greenville is now going to have a new store, and it's going to open at 64 Beacon Drive on Restaurant Row off of Pelham Road in Greenville, South Carolina. They plan to open the store, Alex, sometime in November. Looks like early November right now. Has some things, so they had to push it up a little bit. But they look like they're going to be able to get it open in November. So if everything goes to plan, it will be there at the Pelham Road location in November. The all-new Smoke on the Water will feature the same famous smoked meats it had before, such as the pulled pork, brisket, the beer butt chicken, and the prime rib. Plus, they'll have a few new things that will appear on the menu as well. Also, its signature 5 barbecue sauces will be there to complement, not smother, but to complement any of the smoked meats that you get. Like before, the all-new Smoke on the Water will have Greenville's best happy hour, and it will still feature live acoustic acts. They're getting that done as we've been taught the last couple of weeks, I should say, and people are going to be excited there to see some live acoustic music as they're enjoying their meal or waiting to be seated and stuff like that. So Smoke on the Water is owned by Mike Schuler. He was a staple in downtown Greenville for 18 years before being forced out by their previous locations' landlords. So right now, the all-new Smoke on the Water is available for catering, so you can cater. It also has a food truck, so call 864-232-9091 for more information. Again, that's 864-232-9091 for more information. The all-new Smoke on the Water, 64 Beacon Drive on Restaurant Row off of Pelham Road. Again, the telephone number, if you want to check in on the catering, is 864-232-9091. Alex, did you figure up the numbers for us while I was reading off on that?
Well, it was bad.
It was really bad, huh?
Yeah, it was.
Well, I know
really
Clemson.
bad.
We lost Clemson, so.
All right, so let's just go through this one by one.
Right.
Friday night we picked Iowa State. Will took Iowa State, and I took Iowa.
So I get a win, right?
So Will gets a win. There's your one win.
There's I don't like how you just said that was my one win. All right, go ahead.
We both picked Duke to beat Illinois, and they decided not to play in the fourth quarter. We both picked Virginia to beat NC State, and they decided not to play in the fourth quarter.
We went straight up on that? I thought we just did the spread on those.
Yeah, it was 2.5.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Both of those all three of those games were 2.5.
We would have won if Chandler Morris would have paid attention to the linebacker.
You've got that right.
Right,
also, Kansas and Missouri, we picked the border war. You picked Kansas and I picked Missouri to cover the 6.5. So I earned a win there.
Okay.
And then Michigan, Oklahoma. For whatever reason, I went against every instinct in my body and picked Michigan because you convinced me that Oklahoma was no longer going to be ranked this week. And Brent Venables got the biggest win of his coaching career. And then, we all know what happened with Clemson and Troy. So our current record in the pick'em, we are tied, gridlock, neck and neck at 4-8 after 2 weeks.
Oh boy, you gotta love it, man.
We got to turn it around this week.
See, here's the thing: we're really good at picking, for the most part, picking straight up. Like I picked Florida State a couple weeks ago to beat Alabama straight up. We're pretty good at beating straight. I picked Iowa State to win straight up over Iowa. I'm good at straight up. You start throwing the spread at me, I'm not as good because I think I kind of look at things like a football coach sometimes. I don't really care about a spread. And so, I just want to win.
Win is a win.
A win's a win.
Win is a win.
It's right. So I kind of pay attention more to that. So I think that's kind of maybe why I'm not as good at picking against the spread as some people in our business are. Because there's some people in our business that are really good at it. Me and you aren't. But
I'm
you know
really
what?
good at it in the NFL.
It's fun.
I have an office football pool where I pick spreads every week, and we pick every game. And I was like 35 or 40 games above 500 last year, like third out of 15th this week. I'm pretty good at NFL spreads, but I just feel like college football is just so much more unpredictable that anything can happen on any given week. Obviously, a la the game that was played Saturday in Death Valley in front of tens of people after a long rain delay.
Now, hold on. I'm gonna be fair to the fans, Alex. There was about 40 to 50,000 fans still there. The lower bowl was pretty much filled in. The lower bowl was. People stayed. So I'm gonna give those fans credit because I'm listening.
The Troy fans stayed.
The Troy fans, an hour. It's an hour and a half, and you're down 7-0, and yet you started off like doo-doo sandwich, and then you come out and lay an egg to start off the rest of it for the first half. But I thought the fans that were there got into the game. They were very loud when they needed to be. And so Dabo talked about that in the presser today. And but I remember as I was watching the game, looking around, I'm like, you know what? Considering all that happened in the rain delay and the rain, I mean, it rained really hard, Alex. You guys didn't see that on TV. It rained.
I saw it on videos
delay
that you guys were posting on Twitter.
Yeah.
And they showed a couple of cut-ins between, showing a little bit of Georgia Tech, Gardner-Webb, and Wake Forest and Western Carolina, which is what ended up getting on TV instead when Clemson was delayed. They showed a few cut-ins to Death Valley. It looked pretty miserable.
And there was a couple, and shout out to the high school kids, a couple of high school kids. It wasn't more than a couple. It was like maybe 15 or 20. I don't know what high school they went to, but they were all friends. And they sat down there on if you watch on TV, it'd be the left side of the hill. They were down up against the fence. They were not giving up their seats. They were told they had to leave the stadium because it's that they were not. It poured like rain, and those kids stayed right there. They didn't move. They were soaked. They didn't move. They stayed with it. Kudos to those young people. Those are real young football fans. I loved it. There's a bunch of group of guys and girls that were there. And I just thought, I was telling the people in the press box, I said, that's dedicated fans right there. I love that. They did not want to give up their spots on the hill, and they stayed the whole game. Hopefully, Clemson, you let those kids into Clemson and let them be your students and represent your student body, which, by the way, sometimes sucks when it comes to football and basketball games and being in attendance. So those kids they need to get accepted into Clemson.
Well, I will give Clemson students credit for basketball. They show up. The people that don't show up for basketball are the people who pay extra money for club seats. Students show up for the basketball games.
Sometimes, but we won't get into that. Trust me, because I'm at all the basketball games, and I can I can go against what you just said. So anyway, we won't go down that road. Appreciate you guys joining us. If you have comments, please, we got a couple I know already in there. Please throw some more comments in there, guys. Talk to us the whole time. We'll be happy to answer your questions or comments, or if you just want to get some frustration out, let it be. We're not going to do that. Clemson got a big game this week. Can't express it enough. This game against Georgia Tech is the biggest game of the year.
Yep.
There's no anything else. Guys, I can't tell you enough how huge this game is this week for Clemson. This is the season. If they lose this game, they're not going to the AC Championship game. Dabo talked about that today. Like, if you want to go, like he talked about how they didn't get in last year because they only had one loss, and Miami had one loss at the time, and SMU was undefeated. And he's like, if Syracuse doesn't win, he's like, we lose the tiebreakers even though with one loss, and we don't get in the championship game. He's like, so every game in the conference is a playoff game. And you have to look at it that way. Like, it's like an elimination game. And it really is this week, and here's why. Look at Georgia Tech's schedule. Tell me who's going to beat Georgia Tech after this week's games. Because Georgia Tech and the ACC, they have a really easy road after Clemson in conference games. Who's going to beat them? And that if they beat Clemson, and so Clemson would have to have Georgia Tech lose twice just to get back into the thick of things. And I don't know if Georgia Tech has 2 losses there. I really don't. And so this is a huge game.
I don't know if they do either. The only thing I can think that would lead to another Georgia Tech loss is if, Haynes King continues to have issues health-wise. That's the only thing.
They continue to run him 25 times?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to run him. There's no doubt in my mind that they're still going to run him 25 times against Clemson on Saturday because, I mean, if you're Georgia Tech, your key to winning the football game is him running the ball. Mm-hmm. So they're going to do that. But the rest of the year, if Georgia Tech wants to end up in Charlotte, then they're going to have to keep him healthy. I think that's the only thing that could derail their season with the schedule that they have. And I honestly, I don't know how Georgia Tech is still not ranked in the AP poll, but I got plenty more to say about the AP poll later in the show anyway.
Definitely will. Before we get too far into Georgia Tech, though, let's go back to Troy. I know you don't want to, Alex. I know you, you.
Oh, we need to.
You and Alex Curry, who I know is watching. Alex, appreciate you watching. We got to get Alex on here sometime. Talking about a guy that loves to go against the spread, and he's all about it.
Maybe he could give us some advice for our pick 6.
Yeah, maybe
turn this thing around.
Maybe, but Turi and you and me always have our group text going, and it's always you guys are blowing it up with your comments, and I love it as I'm trying to work. What you guys are saying in there, Alex. It just wasn't pretty. That's the best way to describe the first half. And we'll start with Cade Klubnik. He just was not – he again looked like he did against LSU. He didn't look comfortable. He felt like he was rushing things when he didn't need to. For instance, there's one play where, and by the way, if you haven't gone and watched Eric McLean breaking down Clemson's problems, on his podcast with Murray, you need to go watch it. It's a real good one, and he breaks down a lot of the stuff. And so one of the things that Eric shows is there's a play where, first of all, they start off the game, and they got, I think it's the first play of the game, and Clemson has trips to one side, and then they got a couple guys on the field side. And Troy, Alex, has 4 guys over there where Clemson has trips. Well, obviously the numbers say this play's not going to work if you throw it over there.
Right.
Because there's 4 guys to 3. I mean, you don't
have numbers.
You don't have numbers. And then on the other side, you can see that they're in man coverage, and the man that's guarding Tyler Brown is 10 to 15 yards off the ball, off the line of scrimmage. So your read right there is Tyler Brown's going to do a little hook, which is what he did because he sees he's got soft coverage. He's going to run out, do a little curl. Boom, you throw him the ball, and you let him get another 5 or 10 yards, first down. You got the offense going. You're in rhythm. Cade Klubnik didn't even see it.
Yeah.
And he throws to where 4 guys are at. and like it only goes for a 2-yard gain. It's technically a winning play because you gained 2 yards, but it's not in the sense that you could have had a first down over here. So that's the first thing. Then he shows another play where, they got a situation where, again, we saw this last week where he just missed a guy that was running wide open. Well, this one, they got a situation where, first of all, before I go to that one, go to this on the same drive as the previous play on third down. You know where I'm going here.
Yep, TJ Moore,
who didn't run a very clean route.
Man, it was an ugly route.
It was an ugly route, but
he came back to the football, drifted back to the line of scrimmage. When if he keeps running to the sideline, it's an easy first down.
Right. So, but it's a very bad route. However, he's breaking open, and Cade's got to lead him right there. Boom, because if he gets the ball, he catches it in stride, and he's running up the middle of the field for probably 10, 15-yard gain, first down. You move the sticks. There's a linebacker who's sitting right there. He's just sitting. He's not doing anything. He's just sitting there watching Cade, because I'm assuming that's what he's doing. He's spying. And he's just sitting there, and Cade doesn't release the ball soon enough. He runs TJ Moore right into the linebacker, and the linebacker takes his head off.
Yeah, there was also the hospital ball to Tyler Brown that thankfully Clemson gets called for targeting. Same play, a mesh play in the middle of the field. Brown, staggers and slows down like he's supposed to. He's running great routes this season.
He's running across where he's not supposed to sit though.
He slows down. He slows down in the open spot of the zone because Cade didn't hit him early, and Cade throws it to the shoulder where the linebacker's coming and kills him. And thankfully Clemson gets the targeting call and Tyler Brown's all right. But these are the things that keep happening with Cade. He's late on his throws. He's making incredibly slow reads. In the second half of the football game, looked like they simplified things for him. He had a lot of one read. They ran a lot of one read plays where, it was all based off a pre-snap read.
And he also felt a little more comfortable. We're going to get into that too. And that's what you like because –
and he threw the ball 7 times.
So in the second quarter still, so you're in the second quarter still early in the second quarter. Cade is like, there's a play where they have I'm trying to remember it in my head, but Bryant Westco is playing the field side, and I believe they're running the tight end is running a sort of a corners route. And then they got the running back running a wheel. Well, the running back, I believe, was
that was Ezeamume.
Ezeamume. And what he did is he ran the route wrong, so he should not have been there. He ran it. He shouldn't have been where he was at, and that's on him. But that's not what the problem was. The problem was Kay goes and he's looking toward Bryant Westco's side, and he sees the safety sitting up there, and he sees the corner, right? And he pumps. Yep. He pump fakes it. Got plenty of time to throw the ball. And he pump fakes it. And when he did, the safety bit and the corner bit on that pump fake, which I can't remember who was I think it was Tyler Brown was sitting down sort of on a curl. And that's who he pumped it to. And they bit. The corner goes. Wesco goes free. The safety doesn't move. It's wide open for a touchdown. It's 6 points. All he's got to do is throw it. Cade sees it and just looks away from it and then throws over to Bentancur.
Yeah, he throws over to Bentancur and Ezeamume hits the ball instead.
Hits the ball instead, and the play goes incomplete. Clemson's got a punt when it should have scored 6 points. It's just those things. Now, here's what happened to kind of go what you were saying. It got better, fortunately, and here's what – and I give Ashby Mixon credit. She works with us at the Clemson Insider and helps us here with Believe as well. Ashby says that play where he does connect with Bryant Westco down the sideline and it goes like 30 or 40 yards. This is after they made it 16-0. Then after that, it's like he hit his layup.
Yep.
He got his layup. He saw the ball go in the hoop. He was a different Cade after that. He looked like Cade.
Yeah, he looked like Cade last year. If you remember back to last year, and I know all of you watching this you're going to be like, duh. Last year, it seemed like in every football game after the Georgia game, Clemson threw a 5-yard speed out or a flat route or a curl route or a bubble screen early in the game
just to get
Cade moving, to give him a layup so that he can step back, have a little bit more confidence in the mid-range and eventually hit the deep ball. That was their strategy last year with Cade. For whatever reason this year, that hasn't been part of the formula.
That is the strategy. Cade's just not reading it right, or he's not trusting what he's seeing.
Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it too. Got rattled early in that LSU game and hasn't recovered since. We have Jeff Ruffner gets in on Facebook and says he's seeing ghosts because the offensive line is rough and he has no confidence.
Yes,
but
and
he's
no.
leaving his dudes out to get cleaned.
Yes and no. I'm not going to blame this.
I'm
totally
not blaming
on
the offensive line either.
I mean,
I think there are issues, but I don't think it's the offensive line's fault.
Everything I just described, the offensive line was blocking fine for the most part. Now, there is a play we'll talk about later on where, yes, the offensive line was garbage, and they were garbage a few times. I mentioned one earlier. But in these instances I'm talking about, he's seeing ghosts. And the offensive line's doing their job, and he doesn't need to rush through his progressions. But that's what he's doing, and he's not trusting what he's seeing. I agree with you, Alex. It's the fire blitz coming off the edge where they're he's not seeing that fire blitz, and he got him twice against LSU, and now he's seeing ghosts. He's thinking he's seeing the fire blitz every time. And I'm telling you, if I'm Georgia Tech, first play I'm doing is fire blitz. I'm coming right at him to see if he's progressed.
Yeah, I mean, duh. Georgia Tech, I mean, they're gonna blitz the whole game. I mean, let's call it what it is. Brent Key is a hard-nosed football coach, and they're gonna be sending pressure all day.
Yeah.
That big linebacker is gonna be running on delayed blitz and sending numbers the whole game. Cade's got to have enough confidence to step up in the pocket and take a hit and throw off the blitz.
Yeah,
which he still, really, I mean, as I watched the game back this afternoon, I didn't see him throwing off the blitz on Saturday at all, even in the second half when things were going well. He wasn't throwing off the blitz. Troy just didn't blitz as much because Clemson was able to run the football.
They had
to play some run stopping a little bit and be a little bit more honest.
They did blitz on the touchdown pass to Wesco. The linebacker comes. They bring a dog blitz there. The offensive line did a horrible job. I believe it was the right guard totally just did not do what he's supposed to do. And the linebacker comes through and hits Cade right with Cade's releasing it. But that was a blitz, but Cade made the right read on it. Throws a beautiful touchdown pass to Bryant Wesco. But if you're the offensive line, you got to do a better job because you got to protect your quarterback in that situation because you don't want him to get hit where he could get his arm hit and the ball flutters up in the air. They were lucky there. But that was one where he did pick it up and he did a good job getting the ball out and knowing where he wanted to go with the football.
But they're not throwing off the blitz on mesh or on slants or, he's not making checks at the line when he sees a blitzer coming to throw off of the blitzer, which is what he did a great job of last year. There were a lot of teams that tried to get after Cade with a delayed blitz on the edge or bringing the linebacker up, and he was able to hit Antonio Williams or Tyler Brown or TJ Moore or Bryant Wesco on the blitz or the stop coming off the pressure. And this year he hasn't done that yet.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm glad you mentioned Antonio Williams. Dabo today said we're missing Antonio Williams.
Yeah, they absolutely are. And I think part of it too is, Antonio contributes to that as well in helping Cade see it. Mm-hmm. Just his veteran leadership in that wide receiver room.
The way he recognized coverages.
Yeah, he's recognizing coverages and helping Cade through that process as well.
Yep.
And that's maybe one thing that's probably being exposed right now in terms of Cade's draft stock is that, he's having to rely on other people to see things for him that he's not able to pick up as easily on his own.
Yeah, right now the film,
or at least not right now.
Right now the film doesn't look too good for Cade Klubnik in some ways. But I will say this: much better in the second half. I was just giving the negatives. I'm gonna give the positive. We talked about the Bryant Wesco touchdown. The first touchdown to Bryant Wesco. Oh my gosh, selling the play action beautifully, freezing that safety. And then Bryant Wesco, of course, just sold it beautifully as well. He sort of jogs up there like he's just going to, kind of nonchalant. And then he's not paying attention to what Cade's doing. But once he saw that safety was peeking in the backfield, he's like, see ya. Yeah. And he knew they had him. And Cade just beautifully hung onto that ball just perfectly long enough to let that safety kind of peek into the backfield. and boom. But Alex, you mentioned it earlier. What sold those things? What were they doing that allowed the play action to start working?
They ran the dang football. In the first half, Clemson ran the ball 11 times, 11 times.
17 yards.
For 17 yards.
Yep.
In the second half, Clemson goes out in the third quarter and rushes 10 times for 66 yards. And then in the fourth quarter, 10 times for 37 yards. When you run the ball 20 times and a half, you're going to be able to sell play action.
Yes.
If you don't, you're not going to be able to. Nobody's going to be biting if you're not running the football and you're not trying to run the football. That's the thing. In the first half, again, they did not try to run the ball. There were a couple times, I will say, on zone read, Cade made the wrong read in the first half. Really in that second quarter where they had the 4 carries for -4 yards, that was because Cade wasn't picking up the zone read. He was making the wrong read. So that's part of it. But in the second half, they ran straight handoffs. They ran blocking schemes.
No zone stuff. It was straight calls. Yep.
Yeah, they ran a few zone things in the second half, but they ran zone with Adam Randall.
They ran a lot of gap schemes, and basically gap scheme is you hand the ball off and tell you, Adam, hit the A gap. Adam hit the B gap. That's what you're doing on these plays. It's not complicated at all. You take Cade Klubnik totally out of the play there, and you just run the football downhill. And also your offensive line just gets to go smack people for the most part. And they did a much better job of that. But what did that do? Then you throw in the play action. You start seeing it, and it opened up the passing game, and Cade's confidence got going, and he started making better reads. Makes a great read. I think it's to Tyler Brown out on the boundary side, or it might have been Bryant Wesco out. No, or more. I can't remember who it was. But anyway, he makes a great read where he's like, before the receiver even makes his cut, Cade's already released the ball. Very confident. Ball's there. Boom. It was like a 12-yard gain. First down. You're moving the sticks. You keep going. That's what you want to see your quarterback do. But I think it all was predicated because they said we're going to run the football and we're going to take pressure off our quarterback. That's what they needed to do against LSU that they didn't do. Dabo went in there, and I know at halftime Dabo went in there and said, listen, we're going to go straight up gap schemes, and we're going to run the doggone football. And that's what they did in that second half.
Yeah, and look at how it freed Cade up. Cade in the second half, 7 for 8, 99 yards and 2 touchdowns. And he was playing with confidence when they were running the ball. And once they started running the gap schemes, they ran the zone read a couple times or he scrambled, and they were able to pop off a run or two. So, really, every quarterback, especially a young quarterback, and he's not a young quarterback in terms of college, but in terms of his career, being a college guy who wants to go to the NFL, he's still relatively young. Every player that's at this point in their career needs confidence to get going. And Cade, especially over his career, has shown that that's, more the case than a lot of other guys in the sport. He needs confidence to get moving. And if Clemson's going to want this offense to click moving forward, they got to get him confident early in the game, not in the second half when you're down 16-3.
No, yeah, you got to figure a way, and I think they will this week because they have to, and we'll get into that here in a minute when we talk about the game with Georgia Tech. But that's something, and I know we got some questions asked about Adam Randall and getting in the game more because he's more of an East-West guy. I get your point, but here's the situation with Gideon Davison. When he's in the game, you know what he's doing. The defense knows Clemson's running the ball.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to throw it with Gideon Davison in the game. I can tell you that after what we saw LSU right now. And so
he's not there on the pass blocking. He's just not there on pass pro. Adam Randall, to his credit, I'll give Adam Randall credit when I watched back the game today. Man, he looked great picking up blitzes. He looked great leaking out when the pressure wasn't there. He gave Cade options. When there was a pocket. Sometimes Cade didn't realize there was a pocket when Randall leaked out. But I was kind of impressed with Adam Randall in the pass game.
I was impressed with his speed too because he broke off that long run and he outran a couple people. And the only reason he got caught is because the guy had the angle on him the way he was coming from the secondary. That guy's not there. He runs it down the sideline for a touchdown. And he would have had another long run, as I mentioned, if he stays a little patient. There's a play, I believe, in the second quarter. They're right around midfield. They're going to run the ball. They're running more of a zone at this time, but they're running it toward the C gap. And they got, I believe it was Colin Sadler was the left guard, or it was Harris Sewell, the left guard. Anyway, they were pulling on the play, Alex. And so they're pulling. And, it was Brandon Jacobs. That's who it was.
Right, yeah, it was Brandon Jacobs.
They had Brandon Jacobs pulling from the left tackle spot. And he's pulling, and he's coming around, and he's got to wait on Jacobs to get it, because if he waits on Jacobs, there's a DB that's just going to get mauled by Jacobs. And then the only person left for him is a safety. And I like my chances for him to beat that safety. He probably either goes for a 30-yard gain there, or he scores a touchdown.
Yep.
But he got impatient. And so he outruns Jacobs to the spot. And then the DB is able to get there and get him and trip him up. And it went for like a 4-yard gain when it would have went for a big gain. And so that's some of the things Adam Randall's got to get better at. And that's something he saw on film. And, you take it, you learn from it. And now he knows when that call is called again, I'm going to wait on my big guy and be patient and wait on my big guy to get there. And then I'll be able to hit that corner and go down the sideline.
Yeah, I liked what I saw from Adam Randall in the game. I mean, 21 carries, 117 yards and a touchdown, 4 catches for 23 yards. I like north-south backs. I know there's like some critique in here. Man, I like it when a guy just bears down and goes north-south. And, it's incredibly impressive, too, considering the guy moved over from wide receiver. Because just when you think about wide receivers, you don't think about north-south, getting downhill, running into contact, looking to hurt somebody with the football. And that's kind of the attitude I saw from Adam Randall. When he was given opportunity in the second half, he took advantage of it.
Absolutely. You got this comment from Patrick. How about Clemson use more of a tight end package more? Well, they're going to eventually. Dabo was asked about the tight ends today in his press conference. Patrick, appreciate you, getting in on us here, and throw some more if you don't mind. Here's what happened, Alex. Dabo says his young tight end had a couple of MAs, and they were costly MAs, and that's something they can't have. And so part of the reason why you saw him go out, because here's the thing, they need Christian Betancourt to be a guy like a Dwayne Allen, like a Michael Palmer, because they need to have that guy inside. They need Olsen Pat Henry to kind of be that guy, because Sapp isn't.
Right.
Sapp is going to be a guy, and the teams know when Sapp's
more of a field stretcher.
Exactly. He's an extra receiver for you, athletic guy.
Kind of reminds me of like maybe the way that Jordan Leggett played tight end. Like he's going to want to stretch. I'm not saying he's Jordan Leggett, but more that style where he's going to want to stretch the field. He's like a bigger body receiver.
Yeah, so basically when Sapp's in there and they're going 12 personnel and you got Sapp in there, teams know there's a chance this is a play action pass, thing like that, because you're going to use Josh Sapp. You're going to use Josh Sapp more as he's going to chip. He's going to chip and go out and run a route, something like that, where Betancourt's going to stay in and block.
Yep.
So if Betancourt's not doing his job, or Olsen Pat Henry's not doing his job, and there was a couple breakdowns, and Dabo talked about that, then they got to go do something else because it's not working. And so that's part of the problem why you're not seeing the tight ends as much. But Dabo says they're going to get that corrected. They know they're going to get that corrected, and those guys are going to be really good because they know the potential of those guys. He said, so you'll see more of what you're asking for later on. I know a lot of people are talking about the play calling. But, guys, I'm going to go ahead and just, when you watch the film, you understand why Garrett Riley's not calling things that you want him to call. I'm sorry. You understand. When you see your left guard not blocking anybody, he causing his quarterback to get sacked. When you see your quarterback not throwing the ball on time and getting the ball where it's supposed to be, or you see your quarterback throwing the ball where he shouldn't throw the ball, that's going to hurt things. When you see your running back not showing patience and running the play the way it's supposed to be run, that's going to – so all these things add up as a play caller. Garrett Riley's over there taking notes like, well, okay, we screwed that play up. We screwed that play up. And so it's hard for him to, he starts running out of plays to call. And by the way, when you're sitting at 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9 constantly, you're running out of plays because those plays are small on the play chart because your goal is to get, 2nd and 6,
Yep.
3rd and 3, 1st and 10. Those are your goals that you want to get as you're calling a play, trying to get a team in rhythm. And so I understand the fans' frustration, and they want to just throw Garrett Riley under the bus all the time. Hey, look, not saying Garrett Riley isn't innocent here. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, yeah, he's made some mistakes too, but he is handcuffed by what he's seeing out on the field in front of him, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, players got to make plays. I mean, let's just call it what it is.
And by the way, these guys are getting paid now. Let's keep that in mind.
And well, I mean, that's part of it. But the other thing is, this isn't a young football team. This is an experienced team, one of the most experienced teams in America. And I don't think Garrett Riley's doing anything much different than what he did last year. Yeah, it's frustrating that my only beef with the Garrett Riley play calling so far is just not putting an emphasis on running the football early. That's my only real issue, or an LSU not running it at all late. So that's kind of my only issue is forgetting about the run game. But it's not like he's doing anything radically different than he did last year in terms of play calling. Players just aren't making plays.
Yeah. Yes. Play callers got to make. The players got to make plays so he can trust. Okay, I can run this certain play. If not, then he's got to go somewhere else on the play chart a play that they can do well. And so it kind of all goes together. You know why the offense was clicking at the end of the year in the passing game and all that? Because your quarterback was executing. Dabo said that today. He's like, what's the problem with the offense? Well, we're not executing. You got to execute. And then you see how different the offense can be when you start executing. We just mentioned plays. Now, here's the good news. Everything we've mentioned can be fixed.
Right.
It all comes down to confidence. It comes out to being decisive for your quarterback. It comes out to your offensive line not having MAs. Look, it's okay to have some MAs. It's going to happen in football games. You're going to have a couple. I mean, Clemson's having a lot right now with some guys on the offensive line, and that's what they got to get cleaned up. But you can get that cleaned up. And so I think, we're going to go back to what Dabo talked about, the "you suck" poison. They read all their press clippings about how great they were going to be all year, and you wonder if their mental focus wasn't where it needs to be. And I think with Troy, Alex, was it you or somebody else was talking about how the Troy, when they came down the hill against Troy, the team just didn't. It was like they were kind of going through the motions, like they weren't enthusiastic. They said even Dabo didn't seem enthusiastic, like they were kind of playing off Dabo's emotions at that time.
That may have been the other Alex that got in with that one. I didn't notice, but
yeah,
they certainly played with a lack of enthusiasm and a lack of emotion. And I mean, again, if you go into Atlanta on Saturday flat like that, you're going to get your ass whooped. Let's call it what it is. Yeah. If you go in flat like that and sleepwalk through 2 quarters, Haynes King and Jamal Hayes, and heck, Aaron Philo is probably going to play some too. Shout out Faxon Childress, your favorite quarterback. If you sleepwalk against those guys for 2 quarters, it's going to be a long day.
It's going to be. And we'll get to that in a second. Alex, before we get to Georgia Tech, I know you want to rant about the AP poll. Usually I rant about it, and I'm the guy that goes. But Alex, you got something you want to get off your chest. Go ahead, buddy.
Man, I don't know if you guys saw this today. I'm sure you all did because you're big sports fans and you hate the AP poll almost as much as me and Will do. So there's a voter that kind of went viral for her AP ballot this week. Haley Sawyer, she covers the University of Southern California for the Southern California newspaper group. She, in her poll, moved Florida up 2 spots after losing to USF on Saturday. I believe she had Alabama ahead of Florida State still in the poll. Just a nonsense poll. So then she gets interviewed today by somebody and basically says, I don't want to go too much into my process, but it's really fun and it probably doesn't matter in the end. Are we that dim that we don't think that the AP poll still matters? It sets the national conversation. It still does, as much as you hate it. Dabo says it doesn't matter. It determines what game is played at what time on Saturday. It determines what teams the College Football Playoff Selection Committee thinks are worth paying attention to. It determines what teams ESPN is paying attention to and Fox. It sets the national conversation. And we've got people that we're giving votes to who don't give a crap about college football. Literally, in her interview, she says, well, on Sunday, I wake up after a long night of working and I don't want to go into my process, which basically means I didn't watch a lick of football yesterday except for the game I covered, and I'm going to go pass judgment on 24 other teams in the country.
Yeah, or more.
Yeah, it's just complete and total nonsense. And I'm tired of it. And she, picking on her, but she's not the only one in this list of voters that puts out a dog crap poll that doesn't make any sense every week. There are several guys that do it, and there are guys that have been doing it for years.
Yes,
in the AP poll that still have a vote.
Listen, you know how I feel about it, but I am going to pick at her because they need to fire her on the AP poll as an AP poll voter.
Take her vote away. If she goes out and says it doesn't matter, I'll get somebody who gives a rip.
Absolutely,
to make a poll.
She needs to have her poll taken away. She needs to be fired as being a pollster. She does. I'm sorry. I think she proved that today because, first of all, she's obviously not paying attention when she ranked Alabama ahead of Florida State.
And then the biggest upsets of the last 2 weeks.
She's not paying attention with Florida.
The biggest upsets of the last 2 weeks, she obviously didn't know they happened.
There's obviously.
So she must not have a freaking television or a smartphone. She must be sending her vote in via fax machine because she has no idea what's going on in college football.
I know it's good, and so do you, Alex. It's hard when you're just covering one team and you're having all the stories you got to do.
Yeah.
And I'm sure she does a great job covering that team, whoever it is she's covering. And I get it. But if you agree to be a voter, as I once did, and I did it for 2 years, and I was an AP voter, and I took that thing seriously. Because first of all, I'm going to go ahead and go back in time. When I was a kid, I did my own poll. Did it every week. So when I got asked to be an AP voter, it was sort of like a dream come true for me because I've been doing this since I was a kid, right? And
Will was a nerd, in case y'all didn't know.
I was a nerd, and I enjoyed.
So am I.
But unlike her, it did mean something to me. It does mean something, and I knew it meant something. And so I would not only cover Clemson and do my job, but I would go home and I'd watch every game that I DVR'd. If I wasn't watching a DVR, I was watching it live, like, Pac-12 at night, how it was back in the day. And I would pay attention as much as I could. And if I couldn't see a team, Alex, I wouldn't go read a box score. You know what I would do, Alex? Because, I'm an AP voter, so I have access to every AP story wire that I could have. And I go read the game story written by that AP writer who's covering the game. And I would get an idea of what happened because you know what writers do? They do a good job telling what happened in the game and telling you the story. And so I would do that. And then I would do my poll. And each week my poll was brand new. I clean a slate. And I would go brand new poll. This is what I would go off of what I read, what I saw. And I didn't do box score. I wasn't box score hero where I was just looking at a box score. Or I wasn't doing like her and just waking up and saying, I don't know what happened.
I'm not going to tell you what my process is. It's a secret.
My process is I didn't pay attention to any games. I thought Alabama beat Florida State. That was her process because she didn't pay attention to go check scores. I'm sorry. She needs to have her vote taken away.
Yep. 100%.
She needs to, and hopefully she will. Hopefully she will after coming out and saying that.
There's no consequences in journalism anymore. Let's call it what it is, Will.
Well, hey, Cracker Barrel, that worked.
Hey, Cracker Barrel, even today, you saw what they said today. They said they're canceling all the remodels.
Yes.
So honestly, in my opinion, if you were one of the people like us that were, pissed off about this whole Cracker Barrel thing, you ought to go to Cracker Barrel this weekend, give them some business.
I am.
And reward them for,
for listening
standing up for their customers, for listening to you. So that's my take on it.
They're one of the few companies that have listened, and I'll give them credit. They're one of the few companies that have listened to the complaints of their customers.
Yep. Give
them credit. They went back to what they said. We're going to do what you asked. Here you go. Boom. And so I think if you're right, Alex, you should, if you're a Cracker Barrel person like we are, and I haven't been since all this started, but now you know what? I'm with you, Alex. I think I'm going to go to Cracker Barrel this weekend, and I'm going to reward them. And I'm going to do it after my Steelers beat the Seahawks probably on Sunday.
Let's do it. Aaron, man, what a game on Sunday. Made me wonder why, maybe Arthur Smith didn't have some better ideas with Justin Fields last year. But man, Aaron Rodgers just did what Aaron Rodgers does, leads a drive at the end to win the game, and the best kicker in the NFL knocks it down for a career long.
By the way, Alex, can I say this? Me and you watched Justin Fields play live. I watched him play live 3 times. So I got this. I can say this more than anybody. There's things I saw that nobody else on TV was seeing. Okay, those out there that said Justin Fields was playing great for the Steelers and the Steelers shouldn't have benched him, you don't know football.
Yeah, that wasn't what I was saying.
Because that wasn't what I was seeing. They're like, oh, he's got 10 touchdowns to 2. No, he's got 4 touchdown passes to 2 interceptions, and he's got 6 rushing touchdowns. You know why he had 6 rushing touchdowns? Because he can't see the field.
Yeah.
When he's playing for the Steelers.
Man, he looked like he could see the field on Sunday.
Now, he looked good against the Steelers, but Alex, he even admitted it. He said leading up to the game, I know them very well, but they don't really know us.
Right.
And so he practice against that defense all the time. So it kind of makes sense why he actually played well. I want to see him in a couple weeks when he's playing up against other defenses and they change things, because I know what I saw him in person do. And he can't see an open wide receiver at all. I mean, I watched George Pickens running wide open like all day long and never getting the ball to him. And that's why, Pickens was getting frustrated last year because he wasn't getting the ball, when he was the quarterback. And Russell Wilson struggled too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But Russell Wilson didn't struggle nearly as bad as Justin Fields, guys. Trust me. Justin Fields could not – he would get out. He would give up on the play. He couldn't see the guys running wide open. It was not good. I'm sorry. That's what I saw with my own 2 eyes. And I know I'm going on this Justin Fields rant, but for them other people out there saying, look at Justin Fields, I can't believe the Steelers benched him like they did last year. Come on. You don't know anything. And again, Aaron Rodgers, oh my gosh, it was so good to see a quarterback throw 4 touchdown passes in a game. First time in 5 years we got to see that as a Steelers. Ben Roethlisberger did it in 2020. We hadn't seen that since 2020, Alex. 5 years. This is the 6th NFL season. We haven't seen it. 5 years since we've seen it. A guy throw 4 touchdown passes in a Steelers uniform. We scored 34 points, Alex. That was great.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it was a bunch of fun. Hopefully, Clemson fans have some fun on. No, Rob. Brandon Aubrey is not the best kicker.
I think Rob's trying to just poke at us because
I deal with this crap at my office every day from all the Cowgirls fans that I work with.
Yeah.
Talking about Aubrey's the best kicker. I'm like,
who's the guy who made a 60-yard field goal to win a game? Who's the guy that did that this week?
That was Boswell. Who's the guy that has the best percentage of kicks, 50 yards or plus in the history of the NFL? That'd be Chris Boswell. Yeah. Who's the guy that made the most 50-yard plus kicks last year? That would be Boswell. Man, I know all these stats because this is what I did in the office at the end of the year. The Cowgirls fans were so desperate because their season was so bad.
So they were
comparing kickers with me in the office. So it's never a good sign, Rob. Okay, glad you hate the Cowboys too, though, Rob.
Yeah, hey, Rob, appreciate you hating the Cowboys. We love that. But I will say Aubrey is a very good kicker, though.
Yeah, he is. He's a very good
kicker. Probably.
You want to get in a little bit of Georgia Tech action here?
Let's do it.
That's how I was going to go to the stadium named after my great grandpa. Not actually.
First of all, the ghost of Bobby Dodd. Here's look. All these crazy things have happened to Clemson. They had a 5-game losing streak. Everybody knows it. They lose 10-9, where they have for some reason, back-to-back trips there in 2005 and then in 2007, where they have the tight end. They score a touchdown, but the tight end didn't come onto the field, and the tackle wasn't covered up, and so illegal formation, touchdowns called back. That happened twice. Just ridiculous. They missed 4 field goals.
My first Clemson road game growing up
was Mark Buchholz, right?
Yeah. Was that game, that Georgia Tech game.
4 field goals, Mark Buchholz. Clemson had like 600 yards of offense and lost the game.
Dude, and the other thing that's crazy about Georgia Tech is that, like, when Clemson went there in that time period, it wasn't like you had like a bad kicker who just was worse. Yeah. It was like it ruined your kicker forever. When you went and played there, it was like their ghost of Bobby Dodd, like,
well, the biggest
reconfigured your leg or something.
The biggest ghost of Bobby Dodd is when Thomas Austin, who never got called for holding a day in his life.
Ever.
Clemson comes back from this dramatic 24 points down in 2009, and they're down 24-0. They come all the way back to tie it up, and it's 27-27. Clemson's got the ball late. They throw a bomb to Jacoby Ford. Kyle Parker to Jacoby Ford for like 74 yards. Clemson's got the ball inside the 10-yard line with like less than 2 minutes to go. They're going to run out the clock, kick a field goal, game over. A phantom holding call.
Yeah.
And when you watch the replay, even the ESPN announcers were like, there was no holding there. There was nothing there.
Nothing happened.
Nothing happened. It's like, what are we doing? And then the irony of it all is in the ACC championship game later that year, he gets called again in a similar situation that would have won the game for Clemson at the end. And that, by the way, those two games, they were unbelievable games.
Yeah.
But Georgia Tech ends up winning at 30-27. Then you had, Deshaun Watson got injured there. You had the 2 pick sixes by Cole Stout thrown in that 2014 game. The 2011 Clemson goes in 8-0, and just everything that can crazy happened, like fumbles bouncing right to the Georgia Tech player, and then Rennie Moore not playing his gap responsibly, and the guy just going 75 yards for a touchdown. I mean, it was crazy, man. Stuff that's happened there. But the craziest thing that's ever happened is had nothing to do with football. So Robert McCray with the Clemson Insider, he always would give me crap about my story on the ghost of Bobby Dodd, and he'd always say, "Will, with his ghost of Bobby Dodd." And so as we're getting on the elevator, he's giving me lip about it, being just a smart aleck about it. There's like 10 of us in the media getting on the elevator, and the elevator starts, and we go up half a floor, and it just shuts down.
And you're like, "See, I told you there's."
And
a
that's
ghost
what I
here.
said. That's what I said. And when I did, I freaked the lady out in front of me because she thought there really was a ghost. And so, and so then the elevator, after maybe 2 minutes, just starts going back down. So we're all sitting there. We push the button. We're trying to get people. We're told the people were stuck. The elevator goes back down, but it doesn't go all the way down. It goes to where we could have to open the door and crawl out of the elevator.
Oh my gosh. John gets in. Could have gone my whole life without bringing up the Cole Stout Georgia Tech game.
Sorry, John. By the way, no, yeah, that was the game. Climbing out of the elevator. That was the game, by the way, because it was a day game.
I think he was seeing ghosts in that game as well.
That was that game. So anyway, that was funny. Of course, Clemson has, Deshaun Watson went down. Hey, even that was crazy. Remember, 26-7. What a weird score. Well, how did they get to 26-7? You ask, Alex. Well, here's how. Clemson's up 7-0. Deshaun Watson throws a pass in the end zone. It's intercepted, and the guy for Georgia Tech runs it out. And when he does, he hits a Clemson player, and the ball pops out, rolls back into the end zone. Georgia Tech covers it. Clemson gets a safety.
Deshaun tore his ACL there as well, right?
Yeah, that's the Cole Stout game.
Yeah, at Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
So there's another weird thing that happened. There was one good thing that happened there. This is
Trevor Lawrence.
The birth of Trevor Lawrence happened in that stadium as well. Me and you were there together, and my major takeaway from that game, though, is not that Trevor went on to become one of the greatest Clemson quarterbacks of all time. Starting in that game, it was getting on to I-85 with Will after the game, and some lady literally stops comes to a complete stop in the on-ramp, and Will was not happy about it. But that was a great memory.
I said more swear words in 30 seconds that you can say
than I've ever heard and will ever hear again. That's the way we'll say it right there. And we had a friend who was in the back of the car who was freestyle rapping for all the way to Commerce, Georgia.
That was it. That was a fun trip. But hey, it was Trevor, 49-21 in that game. Yep. And then he comes back during the COVID year, and he leads Clemson to a 73-7 win there. So if anybody like destroyed Georgia Tech. I mean, how many points is that? 173 and 49. What is that? 152 points. Is that right?
That's not right. What is it, 173 and 41? Or what'd you
Yes.
say?
So 122 points. Is that right?
173
73 and 49.
73 and 49. That'd be 122 points.
122 points. Trevor Lawrence led Clemson.
Well, no,
He
not math
outscored them
efficiency.
122 to 28 in the 2 games. He went down to his hometown, and destroyed Georgia Tech both times. I mean, so Alex, by the way, Alex, this is going to be 7 years since I got to go to Bobby Dodd Stadium because COVID happened in 2020, so we couldn't go.
Mhm.
And then in 2022, they played at the Mercedes-Benz, and then they didn't play in 2024.
Yeah.
So this
I will say I am glad that Georgia Tech is playing the football game in their stadium.
Yes.
Playing at Mercedes-Benz was the dumbest thing that anybody ever decided to do.
They're doing a home game. They did Notre Dame last year.
Yeah.
They did Clemson in 2022. They've done Notre Dame. They did Florida State. I think they're going to do like Miami or somebody this year.
It does
there
make financial sense for them to do it. Like they must just get bukus of money from doing it that way.
Yeah.
But just the environment sucks. I mean, it just sucks.
Not the same when it's not
that little weird kooky stadium with those metal bleachers. It looks like an overgrown high school stadium, despite being one of the oldest stadiums in college football. It holds sound pretty well, and it can get pretty rowdy if there's a
when they're good. That's a hard place.
It'll be rowdy Saturday at noon.
Yeah,
I promise.
Yeah, it's going to be a hard place, and so that kind of leads us into this. Like, this is a huge game, and you just talked about the environment. Listen, when Georgia Tech's good, their nerdy students come out, and they hate Clemson, dude.
Yeah,
I'm going to tell you, they hate Clemson as much as they hate Georgia, maybe more. They do, and they get loud. They say derogatory things. They're right on top of the field. So the Clemson team is hearing everything they're saying, especially when they're in that end zone back there,
yep.
Going toward the locker room. I can't tell the fans enough. That is when Georgia Tech's playing well, that's a pretty good football environment.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
It's a hard place to win.
Yeah, 100%. And they got a dang good football team this year.
They do.
Just kind of going into it, Georgia Tech averaging 43 points a game, averaging 300 passing yards a game, averaging 271 rush yards per game, and 571.5 yards per game. This is a team that their offense has not had trouble scoring. They've not had trouble moving the ball. Now, they played Colorado and Gardner-Webb,
right.
So let's add a little bit of perspective. But their offense is rolling coming into this game.
They're going to playing with confidence, more confidence than Clemson.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if they're, which we would expect that Haynes King after a week of rest will be back. If Haynes King is there, that's going to be a shot in the arm for that locker room as well.
Absolutely, and you're totally right about that. And so, but I think you might see, Alex, what we saw them do against Miami, because I still think Haynes King is a little still beat up. Because it looked like to me they called it a lower leg, they called it a lower body injury, but I saw him messing with his ribs the whole game. He kept doing this. I'm wondering if he's got bruised ribs or something. And if that's the case, they're going to be very careful on how they use him. And I think we might see Philo come into this game like he did the Miami game last year. And when they need somebody to throw the football, he's going to be out there. And that's hard to deal with.
It's hard to game plan for.
Yes.
It's hard to game plan for. I mean, you have such a small sample size of who Aaron Philo is as a quarterback. But, man, he's looked good when he did it. I mean, last week, again, they were playing Gardner-Webb. But 21-28, he did throw an interception, but he threw for 373
Look how he did against Miami last year. Look that up real fast, how he did. So, because I remember the game and him watching it and them moving both your guys in and out. And I remember him making some big plays, especially late in that game when they came back and got the lead. And I think he made the play of the game that sealed the win, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So, he didn't throw the ball very many times in that game. Georgia Tech only threw the ball 16 times.
Okay.
They relied heavily on Jamal Haynes and Haynes King running the ball until King got banged up. But Philo was 5 for 10 for 67 yards and a touchdown. And he, kept the defense honest by, pulling it 3 times and running for 13 yards. Which Aaron Philo, he's not going to run it like Haynes King.
That's
Haynes
4
King
yards
is
to carry, though.
Yeah, Haynes King is the toughest SOB in college football.
No doubt.
But Aaron Philo is an effective runner when it's open. Like he'll
Right.
take it when it's open. They're not going to be running quarterback power or a lot of zone read or anything like that with him, but he can scramble and pick up yards in open space if he needs to.
Exactly. And so here's the thing with what they're going to do. We know this with Brent Keys. He wants to be physical.
Yep.
Right. He wants to run the football. He wants to be physical. And also, by the way, keep in mind, he's a Georgia Tech grad.
Yeah.
And
he
so
loves that school.
He loves that school. He's going to be like, he hates Clemson. And he played against Clemson when Clemson and Georgia Tech were going back and forth. And they were each, winning one time and losing one time, or winning 3 times and losing 3 times. I mean, when the rivalry was perhaps the best, and they had these great games, is perhaps the best rivalry in the ACC at that time. He was playing then. And so now he's coaching, and he hates Clemson, just like he hates Georgia. He wants to win this game as bad as anybody because it is Clemson. It's the defending ACC champs. It's the standard in the ACC. This is what everybody looks for. So he's going to have his team fired up to play. They're going to want to run the football. They're going to attack Clemson. Alex, here's what worries me when you saw Sammy Brown last week, and you saw Sammy Brown mostly like just overrunning gaps.
Yeah.
And just, he's taking himself gap integrity in this game. I can't stress this enough. It's so important because, listen, this is what they're going to do, Alex. They're going to line 2 tight ends up over here, have another tight end right here. They're going to motion them over here, those other 2 tight ends to 3 tight ends, and then they're going to take that 1 tight end, they're going to put him in the backfield, or they're going to line and move him to the other side, and they're going to have you looking all over the place. And then you know what they're doing? They're going to run the running back or Haynes King right up the A-gap.
Yeah, and Jamal Haynes, when you talk about gap integrity, Jamal Haynes, he's not a big guy. He's not a bruiser. But boy, is he fast, and he can hit that accelerator, go 0 to 60 in a half second. I mean, that's the kind of running back he is. 29 carries, 157 yards, and 2 touchdowns so far this year. Haynes King is their second leading rusher. Malachi Hosley, their other running back, their young guy, also had a good year so far. 16 carries, 147, and 2 touchdowns. So they're going to run the football, and they've got different looks that they're going to present, different feels in the run game, something that Clemson doesn't have right now.
Yeah.
Because Clemson hasn't been able to use its other 2 backs the way that it wants to. But Georgia Tech, they're a 3-headed monster running the football, especially if Haynes King is there. It's going to be tough, and you got to be gap sound. And the other thing is, I don't know that you'll see Clemson play as much off coverage. I don't think they're going to play as much off.
They're not going to play off coverage
the last couple of weeks.
No, I agree 100%.
Yeah, they're going to have to play more man and get an extra person in the box. That's what you got to do against this team. Make them beat you through the air. That's what you're going to have to do.
I agree. Now they got very talented receivers.
Yeah, they do.
So Terrell and Ashton Hampton are going to have to. They're going to have a hard job. I think you're going to see a lot of Tink Kelly in this because I think he's going to play that slot guy, and they need his speed out on the field. So I know people are asking about what about Alexander. Alexander played a lot last week. I think he played a lot more. He came in. They actually kept Sammy Brown off the field for like a couple possessions and kept Alexander in there. And I think you're probably going to see that again this week. Yeah. You see a lot of Kobe McLeod probably, I think, who I thought came in and played well at times last week as well. So, yeah, I mean.
Their pass game, Georgia Tech's pass game is kind of interesting when you look at the stats.
Yeah.
Because they don't have anybody over 100 yards receiving on the year.
But they got some burners on the outside.
But they have some burners, and they throw the ball to everybody.
Yes.
So their leading receiver, Bailey Stockton, only has 6 catches. But they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys with at least 3 catches. So they kind of throw it all over the place.
And they use their tight ends.
Yep, you're not going to be able to really key anybody.
No,
because they're gonna spread it around, and they're extremely balanced. I mean, they get you with play action, and they hit those tight ends, leak it out.
And by the way, if it's 4th and 2, they're going for it. This is like
Aggressive.
you got to be ready for 4 downs. If they get anywhere near midfield and they're 4th and short, they're going for it. That's what they do. He's going to play that all day long. And so if you're Clemson defense, you can't be like, oh, we got to stop on 3rd down. We're getting off the field. Nope, you're not getting off the field probably, because they're going to come and they're going to try to run a 4th down and get the 1st down. And here's the thing, though. Here's the big key to this game is their center, though, is not very good.
Right.
That's where Clemson can really mess them up. And so that means they're going to have to send a lot of attention to that center, which is going to give a guy like Peter Woods a chance to have one-on-one.
Right.
So, and so what you're going to see is DeMonte Capehart and those guys. Maybe it's Stephylon Green is going to come in when he's relieving. I think he's a guy that could potentially have a really good game. He actually played so well the first 2 weeks of the season.
Agreed.
Yeah, so, that's a guy come in and have a big game. And I think if you get Georgia Tech in 3rd and long situations, they're not going to do like LSU and Troy's done, which is get the ball out fast as they can. Then I think you're going to see TJ Parker finally make an impact in a game where right now teams are taking him out of the games.
Yeah.
They're doing this dinking and dunking, and they're just like, no, we're not letting you, big boy, come over here and wreck this game. And he's getting
Georgia Tech, I think, is going to say, bring it on. I think that's the identity of their football.
They're not a dink and dunk team. And as you just said, Clemson's going to play press man because of that. Clemson's going to dare them to throw the ball. I really believe that. And so you called that right. So Alex, before we
I do want to talk about the Georgia Tech defense a little bit too.
Go ahead.
A guy that you've obviously talked a lot about in the podcast since we've been talking about Georgia Tech.
44
says freaking January.
I love number 44, man.
Kyle Efford.
Yeah,
Kyle Efford. He is a 6'2", 230-pound hard nose.
Will Vandervort special. Will Vandervort special.
Yep. And then they got guys on the defensive line too. Remember AJ Hoffler? Anybody, Clemson fans, you remember him? He's over there. You don't think he's going to be amped up on the edge going against his former team?
And he's actually playing well too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's making plays out there. Don't know why he didn't do that when he's at Clemson. He could have really solidified the left side of that line last year. But he's making plays now, and so you give him credit. And Dabo talked about that today. But I love 44, man. That guy, man, you could break his leg and he's still out there. He's like old school linebacker.
That's their whole team is that.
He's a Jack Lambert or Jack Youngblood. He's that kind of guy.
Their whole team is that. They play 1970, 1980 line it up, punch you in the mouth football.
I love it.
And they're a fun team to watch, and they're a dangerous team coming into this game for Clemson.
They're not as talented as Clemson or Florida State or Miami, but they're so sound. They're so disciplined. And that's how they beat you. They just are very disciplined. They don't beat themselves. When they take care of the football, you're in trouble. And by the way, I know a lot of people are thinking, well, Haynes King, he turned it over 4 times the last time he was here. Actually, I think it was 5 times because he had fumbled also. Threw 4 interceptions.
And he turned it over, 3 times, like in the first half at Colorado.
But last year, they didn't turn the ball over at all.
Yeah.
They were a real sound team. And
they had another turnover last week. They kind of got off to a slow start in that game. I know they went on to roll, but they kind of got off to a slow start. A lot of that's played another
fumble, interception, I think, something like that.
Yeah, interceptions. Yeah. They've had the turnover bug a little bit this year. And Clemson's defense has been opportunistic.
It has been.
These first 2 weeks.
Get an interception off a butt will do that.
Yeah, the butt pick is what they called it on the broadcast.
The butt pick, which is a good call. The butt pick, or the bum pick, as Ricardo Jones told me. It bounced off his bum. He's trying to be polite. Anyway, so it's gonna be Alex. We gotta get to our pick 6 too.
Yep.
I know this game's in the pick 6, so let's just go ahead and throw it out there. What do we got?
Yep. So Clemson is a 3.5-point road favorite at Georgia Tech. My keys to the game for Clemson before I tell you my pick: run early. That's number 1.
Okay.
Run the ball early. Give Cade layups. Is my second key, and my third key is make Georgia Tech win through the air. Okay. I think if Clemson does those three things, that they'll win the football game, but I don't think they're covering 3.5. I think this is like a 27-24 football game. And I got Clemson winning 27-24, but I'm taking Georgia Tech with the points.
Yeah, and what's the over and under? I saw it's 53 earlier this week. Is that still at 53 and a
Let's
half?
see what it's up to on our FanDuel odds today. Today the over under, 53 and a half.
Okay, 53 and a half.
Clemson on the over, or payout for the over is -115, for the under -105.
By the way, the Believe in Clemson Football Pick 6 is presented by FanDuel. So go to FanDuel and you can participate in what we're doing here with all the props and everything. Appreciate FanDuel being our sponsor. All right, Clemson 3.5. I'm going to pick the game on Saturday on the Tiger pregame show. By the way, start at 6 o'clock on WCCP, The Roar 105.5. Check it out. Me and Quack I will be in Atlanta doing the show. Quack will be here in Clemson doing the show in the studios. But we'll be on the air at 6 a.m. getting your set for the game. So when you get up in the morning, got your bacon, you're making your coffee, turn me and Quack on.
I ain't gonna be listening at 4 a.m. Mountain Time.
I'm not talking about you, Alex. I'm talking about.
I'll tune in when I wake up.
Yeah, but the other people, if you get up, I know you'll get ready, get the kids ready, got to let the dog out, whatever. Turn on 105.5 The Roar and the Tiger pregame show. Me and Quack, cast of thousands. Ashby Mixon will be there. We'll be getting you ready for Clemson, Georgia Tech. So, Alex, with that said, I won't do my pick here, but what I will say is this. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think it's going to come down to a kicker. And I'm just going to leave it there. But I will say this. Give me Georgia Tech plus the 3.5.
All right. We are in agreement.
Okay.
With Georgia Tech at the 3.5. That's good. We're tied in this pick 'em. I feel like somebody's got to get the edge this week. We're going to see somebody get an edge. So let's go to our other 5 games from around the nation. We're going to start out with the backyard brawl. Pitt playing at West Virginia. The Panthers are a 7.5-point favorite over the Mountaineers, who lost to Bart Boatwright's Ohio Bobcats last week in Athens, Ohio.
So my Pitt Panthers, because my family's from Pittsburgh, so I like to say my Pitt Panthers. Pitt Panthers are a 7.5-point favorite, you said?
Yeah.
Getting plus 7.5 at West Virginia in the backyard brawl. Obviously, West Virginia was looking ahead. That's 7-point spread in a rivalry game. That's a lot. I think Pitt's going to win this game, Alex, but I don't know if they'll cover the 7.5. That's a lot in a rivalry game. And it's obvious West Virginia was looking ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and say, give me West Virginia plus the 7.5.
I'm going with the same thing for the same reasons. Looking ahead, rivalry game. This game too, honestly, like the last few years, it's felt like the worst team has won this game. It's kind of how it's felt in recent years. I'm not going to go as far as to say West Virginia straight up, but I think Rich Rod's going to have the boys ready, and they're going to cover that 7.5 at home. That's a hostile environment. Those people love their football. They don't care that they lost in Athens last week. They could be 2-10, and that stadium would be packed for this game. So
we watched this game last year in Denver. Remember? We watched this game last year in Denver at a bar in Denver. I was mad because nobody had the game on.
So we had to go somewhere to. Yeah, but I got West Virginia with the points. John Grant gets in here too and says, based on last week's pick, glad you're taking Georgia Tech. It's a fair point. That's a fair point. Next game on here.
I said I'm taking Georgia Tech with the points. I didn't say I was taking Georgia Tech to win the game.
Next game on here, Georgia, number 6 in the land, is a 3.5-point favorite at Neyland Stadium over number 15 Tennessee. I'm going to give mine first because I always make you go first, and I don't want people to think I'm cheating.
Yeah.
I've got Georgia covering the 3.5. I just don't think – I mean, Joey Aguilar, to his credit, has looked good so far, but this is a notable step up for Tennessee, a competition, and I got Georgia winning the football game.
Alex asked who's going to play on offense for Georgia, though?
Fair enough.
All the receivers got hamstring injuries. I mean, it's like they're all out. I mean, they got the quarterback isn't look really good because he doesn't have anybody to throw to. They're going on the road in a hostile environment.
102,000 singing Rocky Top.
And let's be honest, Tennessee's problem hasn't been their offense this start the season. It's been the defense, mainly against Syracuse. They looked good last week, but they played nobody last week, Was it East Tennessee State or somebody last week?
Yeah.
So, But they've scored a lot of points. Offense is playing with a lot of confidence. Georgia's offense is not. This is where me and you disagree, my friend. Give me Tennessee plus the 3.5 to take care of it. Rocky Top, Tennessee, Volunteers are going to win.
All right. Next game. We got a question in here earlier in the show from, I don't want to mess it up, Patrick Bumgardner got in and asked us about the USF Bulls. They have another big game this week after pulling off the upset of the weekend. They're playing for the state championship, essentially. I mean,
dude, if they win this, they're in the college football playoff.
Yeah, they are number 18 in the land because some sports reporters in Southern California had them unranked this week. And they're playing at number 5 Miami. Miami is a 17.5-point favorite in this game.
So Miami, and where's this game at?
That's at Hard Rock.
Oh, okay. Well, that's why they're a 17.5-point favorite.
They play so well there.
Miami. Well, the difference is going to be. I mean, they played last week too, and they played at home last week. I believe Miami did after the Notre Dame game. Notre Dame game was sold out. It was
it's Catholics and convicts.
Right, it's Catholics versus convicts, and that game was sold out. And I'm sure last week they didn't have a big crowd. They're not going to have a big crowd this week either.
Even with the ranked matchup.
There'll be, I bet you 10-1, there might be more South Florida fans than Miami Hurricane fans in the stands.
Yeah.
But 17.5 points seems to be pretty big in an environment where Miami's going to have to bring their own energy. That's horrible when you got to bring your own energy at home.
In a top 25 matchup against an in-state team.
Give me South Florida plus the 17.5. They're not going to win the game, but I think they're definitely going to cover that 17.5.
No, I agree with you. I mean, I think Miami could win it by 2 touchdowns, but 17.5 is a lot of points for me.
Yeah, I mean, especially a team playing well that's already got a win over one, big-time opponent in Florida. Now, Florida's probably not as good as Miami, but that's still it's impressive going into the swamp and getting a win.
Next one. This is a big in-state matchup in the Palmetto State. Vandy at South Carolina. South Carolina is a 5.5-point favorite against Diego Pavia and the Commodores, who went to Blacksburg and handed a licking to Brent Pry's Hokies.
So Vandy's plus 5.5, you saying?
No, South Carolina is a 5.5-point favorite.
At South Carolina?
Yep, in Columbia. Afternoon game.
Well, we know
SEC Network 4:30.
We know the three. We know Carolina's getting 3 points just for being at home. Yep. So that tells me on a neutral field, they're saying South Carolina is a 2.5-point favorite.
Yep,
that's what they're telling me. I watched Vandy in the second half kick Virginia Tech's butt in Blacksburg, which is not an. Which I'm gonna be honest, I'm just gonna call it. I'm gonna call a spade here. Okay, Virginia Tech is a much harder place to win a football game than Columbia.
Yep.
I'm just saying it. It is. I know the Gamecock fans probably don't like hearing that.
Well, I'll say this: week in and week out, it is. At South Carolina, I don't know if there's very many places in the country where it's harder to win a night game than Columbia.
Yeah,
it's not week in and week out. No matter what time of the day it is, Virginia Tech is a hard place to play, no matter how good the team is.
Exactly. So I'm just saying it like I see it, from that standpoint. And I watched them go into Blacksburg. Home opener for Virginia Tech, and they just whooped their tail. And right now, South Carolina's struggling on offense.
They're missing Darryl Loggins.
Yeah, and they got 2 touchdowns last week by punt returns. They got 3 touchdowns on the season on punt returns. If I'm Vandy, just don't punt the ball to the guy that catches the punts.
Punt it out of bounds. I mean, give South Carolina plus field position every time, but make them score.
But make them earn it. Don't let them get a special teams touchdown off of you. So that 5.5 is big to me.
I know it's a tough one. This is to me. This and Clemson are the hardest ones on this pick'em this week.
Yeah, I'm going to say give me Vandy plus the 5.5. I think this game's going to be like a field goal kind of game. I
agree.
I'm not saying Vandy's going to go win it, but they're not going to be intimidated playing in Columbia after with the environment they just got out of.
No,
they're not. So I think give me Vandy plus the 5.5.
Yep, same here. I just think they're, the physicality of Vandy, which is a weird thing to say, but that's where we are in 2025. Vandy's physicality makes this a close football game.
Absolutely.
So that I'm going with you there. The next one, Texas A&M, number 16, at number 8, Notre Dame. Notre Dame is a 6.5-point favorite at home. I'm going to go with Notre Dame. It's like two teams that like choke in big games. But I'm going to go with Notre Dame. I was really impressed with the freshmen in the second half of that Miami game. I think it's a game they probably should have won. And I think Notre Dame's going to win at home. They play really well up there.
If this game was at College Station, I might go and pick Texas A&M.
Well, I mean, I think honestly, if this game is at Kyle Field, it's probably a pick 'em.
Yeah, I agree. But it's
6.5's big though.
It's not Notre Dame. Speaking of great environments, Notre Dame is a great environment for college football. If you've never been to South Bend, you need to.
Don't remind me, COVID, one of the main things it took from me.
Yeah, it's I went up there a few years ago, obviously, and Notre Dame's one of the best places I've ever been to see a football game. There's like a big party outside the stadium. I mean, it's a huge party. It's not like Clemson where everybody's spread out and having their own parties. It's one gigantic party right in front of the stadium. And I'm talking 80,000 people all tailgating right there, and it's like, it's a good environment. The atmosphere was unbelievable. It's loud. It's one of the loudest places Clemson has played in. Notre Dame, give me the 6.5 on this game. I think Notre Dame covers and wins this game against Texas A&M. Go half ACC. So
half ACC and fictional Big Ten power. Notre Dame.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and that's our pick 6 for the week. So we'll run it back. Hopefully, God willing, one of us gets over 500 this week.
So what we got, Alex? I got Clemson 3.5, getting 3.5. So you got Clemson also on that one.
Well, we both took Georgia Tech with the point spread. We both.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant to say we took Georgia Tech getting the 3.5.
Yeah, I'll run it back for you. We both have Georgia Tech plus 3.5 against Clemson. We both have Notre Dame minus the 6.5 against Texas A&M. We both have Vandy plus the 5.5 at South Carolina. We both have South Florida plus the 17.5 at Miami. I have Georgia minus the 3.5 at Tennessee, and you took the Vols plus the 3.5. The backyard brawl, we both are riding with West Virginia plus the 7.5.
Okay, so there's only one we're different on. So next week, one of us is going to be leading.
Yes.
Yeah. So
one of us will have a lead.
Yeah.
So
basically, what's going to be is one person's going to be 4-14, and one person's going to be 5-13.
I hope that's not the case, but I don't feel great about any of these going into this week. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah. So we got one more comment here on YouTube coming at us. Michael W. says, as much as I'm a Clemson fan, I'm also a realist. I have yet to see the Tigers play consistent, high-level football. I have true faith in them beating Georgia Tech Atlanta. Michael, I'm with you, buddy.
Fair point, Michael.
I'm totally with you. I think that you got everything to say about that is accurate. And we're going to see what they do this week. I'm with you. I got to see it to believe it. That's kind of how I've said it already this week on a couple of shows that I've done. And, I'm saying it here. I got to see it to believe it for the Tigers right now. I'm with you 100%, Michael.
Yeah, it's going to be an uphill battle for the Tigers. Again, my keys, run the ball early, give Cade layups, make Georgia Tech win through the air.
Yeah, my key is Cade Klubnik has to come to play. The offense has got to score early in this game. They got to be like Texas early. They need to take the opening drive and go down there. If I'm Dabo Swinney, if you win the toss, take the ball and go score. Take the lead, put the pressure on Georgia Tech immediately. I think Clemson's got to do that in this game. They got to let their defense play with the lead. And then gap integrity. They got to have it. They got to stay sound. Don't play with your eyes. Try to play what you're supposed to. Don't let all that eye candy mess you up and stuff like that. I guess you need to say play with your eyes. In other words, pay attention to what you're doing. And don't get lost in all the eye candy that Georgia Tech's going to do. And then be physical. They got to be physical in this game because Tech's going to be physical. Clemson's going to come out of this game probably this is going to, there's always a one game Dabo talks about. Remember, usually it was Boston College.
Mhm.
This is going to be that kind of game where the guys are going to be in the cold tub on Sunday because this is going to be a hard hit physical football game. I think it's going to be a good one. I think it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Don't usually like going to Atlanta, but I'm looking forward to this one because I think I'm going to get to watch a good football game. And it's going to be a classic Clemson, Georgia Tech, old school kind of game where it goes down to the wire. Maybe we have a Woody Dantzler Hail Mary run kind of play. Maybe we have like a Woody Dantzler, running into the end zone in double overtime to win the game for Clemson. Maybe we have, of course, this would be great for Clemson, a Charlie Whitehurst type game where he throws 4 touchdown passes. They win 39-3 in the purple jerseys. I know the purple jerseys aren't coming out. I think Clemson's probably going to be wearing the orange.
They're going to be orange on white Saturday.
Yeah, so Clemson will not be wearing their business suit.
It's a whiteout in Georgia Tech. There are going to be a lot of Clemson people there.
Is a whiteout intimidating in the daylight, though?
No.
Like, I would send that. Bart, I tell you what, our photographer's going to hate the whiteout. I can tell you that right now. Bart is not going to like the whiteout. I can tell you that much is
Bart's
coming.
Bobcats should be 2-0. Let's call it what it is. They should have beat Rutgers.
Yep.
And they should be 2-0 and in that playoff discussion right now.
I know they're pretty good, man. They got their first MAC championship last year. And
Parker
now
Navarro, he's a dog.
He's
the second toughest quarterback in college football behind Haynes King.
Absolutely. So we'll see, man. Hey, Alex, great show as always, buddy. Appreciate your time. I know you're probably hungry. I gotta let you go. So appreciate all you out there watching us tonight. Appreciate the shout outs and the talks and the conversations. We enjoyed it. For Alex Dodd, I'm Will Vandervort. We'll talk to you next time on Believing Clemson Football.